We are live. There we go. We in there.
Hi, it's Shakira,
It's Jason. What's up? What's happening? We're back.
and we're reading While Black. It's been a minute. We've been gone for a minute, but we're back,
Back.
back with the jump off, as
Worse.
Kim would say.
Worse.
And we have the amazing Brooke Obie, from the author of Book of Addis, Cradle Embers, which is the book that we read this month for Reading While Black. So first, I want to say thank you so much for agreeing to interview with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Of course, I was so excited that y'all would even read it. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Oprah touched you, so I mean.
So basically, we had to. All I saw was that Oprah was in your profile pic, and I was like,
"Yeah, this is completely legit."
Yes, absolutely. So,
all that we have.
So a little bit about Brooke. She's a graduate of Hampton University, and as a graduate of Tuskegee University, my heart filled with happiness because I was like, okay, sister school, HBCU, Black excellence.
Yes.
She has a law degree from Mercer University, and you also attended Columbia University's writing workshop.
Yeah, in Paris, 2012. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So basically, she's Black excellence. And she also went to the New School for her MFA in creative writing. So, Black excellence all around. You're basically friends with Oprah. You've interviewed Dr. Maya Angelou, Aretha Franklin, Felicia Rashad, Patti LaBelle, Cissy Houston, all of our Black aunties.
Yes.
So, first, can I just start off with what is Oprah like?
It's amazing.
You stole my question. Did you go to the garden? I've heard so much about the garden. Like she grows her own vegetables. Please tell me. Just tell me about the garden. That's all I want.
I would love to be able to tell you about the garden, but I did not get to go this year, though it is on my vision board, Summer at Oprah.
Okay.
Put it on the vision board.
It literally is on my vision board. No, I got to interview her for Henrietta Lacks. She was on a press junket, and she was so excited because when she came into the room, it was just all Black women journalists. And so she said she had never in her entire career been in a space that was just all Black women journalists. So she was excited to be with us. She got her phone out and, was taking pictures. She Facebook Lived it. She wanted selfies with us. Like, it was just amazing. She was singing a Black Girl Magic song she just made up on the spot. Like, it was incredible.
Wow, amazing. And so Book of Addis has received a couple of awards. The 2017 Phyllis Wheatley Book Award. 2017 Black Caucus of American Library Association Award for self-published fiction. And it deserves because it was really good. I loved it. I was standing the entire time. I was really like, this is beautiful. This is amazing.
That's everything to me. Thank you so much. I'm so glad.
So what inspired you to write Book of Addis?
So there's this, really popular Toni Morrison quote about, writing the books that you want to read. And I just didn't see any place where if they were talking about slavery, it was all about our trauma, our struggle and all of that. And there's no real happy ending there, because if we look at our actual history, we're still facing the impact of slavery generations later. And so I just wanted to create a different world, an alternate history of our experience in slavery, where, the rebellions that actually took place every single day on plantations, all over the country, where they actually got to be successful. And so that's why I wanted to create this. And I wanted to kind of create a sort of healing for me, and also dig into my own roots, through a DNA test that I have Nigerian ancestry. And so a bunch of the book is they're Nigerian and Igbo words and phrases. The main character is Igbo, and she's trying to reconcile this Igbo-ness that she doesn't know with this Black Americanness that was kind of put upon her. So she's wrestling with spirituality, with, culture, all of that, and her place in the world. And so, yeah, I just was hoping to connect with some other, Black people who are out here trying to figure out, who they are and what came from slavery and what's okay to be proud of, what's okay to find hope and strength in. So hopefully that, resonated with readers as well.
It did. What I can say is I did appreciate that, the characters weren't passive in the way that typical, like, kind of slave narrative, alternative fiction type of writing is. And I did notice that. I'm like, any trauma that did happen kind of like pushed the character towards something else. And it wasn't just kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of like slave, kind of like porn, kind of like, it's like, just like the violence that's there isn't just for entertainment value.
Yeah,
I appreciate
that.
For
sure. And there, a lot of the other, books that I was reading, or the movies that were getting made out of books, they very much centered on, white saviors and all of that. And I just wanted to create a space where that was blatantly like rejected, and just focused and centered Black people and their experiences. So.
Yeah, I can definitely, that white savior. It was something about Sabine that I just did not trust her instantly. I was just like, I don't trust this. This feels very, I don't even know what white woman does she remind me of? It was just very like.
She's a composite of a lot of white women.
Yes. I was like, what? I don't trust it. There's no good in this.
Can't trust it farther than I can throw it at all. Let's change gears for a second. Let's talk for a moment about the language that was used in the book. There was a mix of Igbo and a kind of broken dialect slave English. Why was it important to write in this way? That's one thing that I wanted to get into, because when I first cracked this book open and I read like the first few pages, I was like, let me read this over because I missed something. I was like, let me dial it back. And it took me a minute to register. I'm like, oh, they're not. I'm like, this is when I knew it was realistic when they were talking in broken English. And that's one thing that I appreciated about the book in itself. Like in that first scene, in the opening scene, when she attempts to kill the slave master, and the way that she's talking to him, I'm like, oh, she's speaking in a broken dialect. I just wanted to know, can you go a little bit deeper into why that was important? I obviously it's authenticity, but I really enjoyed that part of the book maybe the most out of anything.
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. So it was really important for me that this book be written in Black vernacular for, like you said, a feeling of authenticity, but also, it's written in the third person. There is a narrator that is telling this story. And usually the narrator of the book is the God of the universe, And so this, God of the universe in this book is able to see into the heads and the minds of all of these different characters. And so it was really important for me that narrator be someone who was on the side of the people, that was one of the people that spoke in the language of the people. And so it just, to me, added value. It validated the story as authentic, because this person, this third person omniscient narrator, is on the side of the people and understands them. And so it will feel more like this is the true story. This is what actually happened. So there was that reason to it, but also a lot of writing the book for me was about filtering out the anti-Blackness that I had been socialized with, that we've all been socialized with just from living in an anti-Black world. And so going through and writing this in the vernacular, it made me really appreciate language that I was taught to be embarrassed about. It made me see the beauty and the poetry in language that I was taught was less than, was, improper, and all of that. And so I really wanted to show that, like in the, vein of Langston Hughes and, Zora Neale Hurston, all of these amazing writers who were educated, who chose to write in Black vernacular, that this language is just as valid, it's just as beautiful, and can be as poetic and skillful as any other language. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and do it in that way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love the most about authors like Alice Walker and Chimamanda Adichie is that they use that language it feels common, it feels real, it doesn't feel kind of sanitary or stringent. And so I appreciated that because it felt real. And even as I was reading the book, I was like, this could be a movie. Like I'm visualizing,
Yay.
or
save the question. Save the question. That's my question. That's my question. I definitely wrote that down.
Yeah, it just kind of was like it felt like you did your research. So do you speak Igbo, or did you have to like go in and research?
I definitely researched. There were a lot of websites as well that had Igbo words and phrases, pronouncing them. I also had a friend of mine who is Igbo and is fluent. She went through the whole book at like just line by line with me and taught me how to pronounce everything correctly. So, and made sure like, everything that I was using was being used in the right context, and whatever she didn't know, she called her dad and, just made sure everything was right. So I really appreciated her for that. But yeah, so there was that research. And then you mentioned Chimamanda. I had the pleasure of interviewing her while I was writing this book. And what struck me the same way about her writing was the fact that she would use these Igbo phrases in Americana and not translate them. Mm-hmm. And we just had to understand from like context clues, if you didn't get the first time, you can, try again, or you can go and Google, and those were all things that I did to make sure that I understood what was happening, but it didn't take away from my enjoyment of her work. It added to it, and I felt like gave me permission to kind of do the same thing. So that's why, there are phrases within the text that I don't translate. But the headings for each section of the book, I went ahead and translated those because there's no other context from which someone could understand what those words were trying to convey. But yeah, so I did do a lot of research. I talked to a lot of people, read a ton. So yeah, you can, as a writer, you can get so lost in research if that's what you enjoy doing, mm-hmm. and you will forget to write. So I definitely did as much research as possible because I'm also a procrastinator. And so it's just more fun to research than actually have to go and put all of that into practice. But yeah, I have a syllabus on my website of all of the books, everything that films, documentaries, all that I used in the research of this book at bookofaddissyllabus.com. So if anybody wants to find out what those materials
plug yourself. Yes, plug.
Yeah, plug yourself, because I'm actually me and Shakira are now looking into starting our young adult reading list, and upon finding out about the study guide, I was like, wow, we're working with a local Black high school here, LaFleur Magnet High School, in our hometown, and to be able to give those book club members a study guide, as well as the administrators and teachers that are over this club at the school, they can actually speak to it and ask correct questions and all these other things. Definitely probably going to add it on the list. So you'll probably see us talking about Book of Addis again within the next few months. Definitely from the youth perspective.
Yeah, this would be definitely one of those books that I would encourage. I encouraged my mama, my best friend. Everybody's like, hey, listen, you should read this book. I think you would enjoy it.
I definitely told my girlfriend's mom. She really she's definitely talking about picking it up. She loves, like, she's a big fiction person. So she enjoys reading a lot of fiction. So I said, you probably would like this. She's picked up a couple of the books that we read over these past, what are we at, 6 months?
6, I think 7.
This is the 7th. Yeah, this is 7 months.
7th book. So,
I feel like we've been doing this 2 years.
It's been a lot of reading. Is there any one character that you feel most connected to?
It's definitely not Addis, because, people like listen to Addis and think she's really special and cool and stuff. But I think maybe like Chima may be closer to me. Okay. She's just kind of off to the side. She like records things, that are happening. You know, so she's more like the history keeper, the griot. But yeah, so I think probably Chima.
Yeah, and to your point about like people seem to like think Addis is like special. I had a really hard time, not a hard time connecting to her, but I appreciated that she wasn't like a perfect main character. Like there were points where I'm like, why are you so mean to your mom? Like, and maybe it's from my perspective because I'm getting, you know, the narrator's perspective. I'm like, your mom is awesome. Like, what do you mean? Like why can't you see that she's doing this stuff for you and to survive? Like, I had a hard time with that, you know, and even her, you know, she does like question her spirituality and stuff like that. I appreciate you putting that in there, but as far as me like feeling the most connected to her, I don't think I necessarily saw it. I think I felt closest to her mom, honestly. Like she saw her purpose and she like was trying really hard to provide the best for her kids and like make this world for them. And I appreciated her for that. I think I feel more connected to her. Jason, who do you feel most connected to?
I say Addis. I actually did identify a lot with Addis.
Of course. I feel that.
Always ride. Ride for the narrator of the story, and always ride for the protagonist.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, I mean, hopefully, yeah, because it's her story, so hopefully you gotta stick it out with her for 2 more books. But yeah, well, so with Taddy too, I mean, I was hoping anyway that people would either identify with, you know, being very judgmental of their mother, or, you know, see, you know, wow, how just the way that we treat, you know, like that relationship was to show how messed up slavery made Black motherhood. It really perverted that institution, and you know, there's nothing, I guess, that Taddy could do in that situation. I mean, just from having a child in slavery, you know, you brought your child into something horrible. And so you have Nene, who, you know, she decides to mother in a different way. Like she mothers Taddy, she mothers Addis later. But she, you know, she chews, you know, the bitter root so that she doesn't like to cause her to have abortions, basically. So she doesn't actually ever have to bring life into the world on her own. And so, you know, Addis is really struggling with like, well, what is motherhood supposed to look like? A mother's supposed to protect you, but you can't protect your kid from slavery, you know, like it's just, it's like white supremacy, you know, like today, like that mother in Baltimore who was beating her child on, you know, in front of everybody. You know, you do the best that you can. Yeah. I mean, and, you know, people were cheering her and then other people, you know, were deriding her, but it's like, you know, what are you supposed to do? I mean, if you have this idea of motherhood as protection, and you just realize there's really nothing that I can do to protect my kids. Like, what does that do to you as a mother? And what does that do to your kids to know that they're not protected?
I think that's an amazing conversation. It does relate not only to that, but not only to the mother in Baltimore, for example. I remember there were a lot of mixed emotions in that. People really didn't know what the judgment call was to make. Was she in the right? Was she in the wrong? But that just identifies with Blackness, period, I would think. Like, how do you raise a child in a world that's where its root of its creation is white supremacy and misogyny for that? Like, if you're raising a daughter, especially if you're raising a Black daughter right now, she has 2 strikes against her being Black and her being a woman. So you're looking at these parallels, and it really amazed me because I loved her mother. I could understand why she was conflicted, but I also took both sides. Her mother was my second favorite character, even though they clashed. I understand, because I get it. Like, you're trying to survive. You're trying to make it to the next day, and you're in the world where you can literally lose your life every day. And there are Black people right now living in cities right now that feel like they're not going to make it to the next day.
Yeah.
So it's definitely identifiable.
I don't know. I felt a great deal of compassion for Taddy, but also I have to think about who was I at 17 and how was I to my mother, you know? And so it's like, this is true, but even like, I felt like when, I don't know what chapter it was, but when Taddy was combing Addis's hair and like oiling it to send her to Birkin, it wasn't until like halfway through I realized what was happening, and my gut was like in knots. So I was like, this is awful. Like, you have to basically, you tried so hard to protect your daughter from this man who's brutalized you, just for him to tell you to like oil up your daughter and send her to me. Like, it was like gut wrenching, you know? And it was like, wow, this is, what would I do as a mother if I had to send my daughter into this world, into this situation that I know and I can identify with and I am currently experiencing, and I don't have control.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about Taddy too. She's actually been in this position before, but as the daughter, you know, Dido, her mother, risked her life and was actually killed. And her father was actually killed, protecting Taddy from being raped as a child. And so she's already seen what it's like to grow up without parents. Addis already has lost her father for the same reason, basically trying to protect his family, which again, you know, in the system, you know, there is no such thing as protection for Black people or Black kids, you know? And so Taddy's got this decision like, okay, I grew up without anybody to support me, anybody to like hold my hand through the trauma. So maybe it's better, you know, that I stick around and I will at least be there, you know, when she comes back downstairs from having this horrible experience, and I can help her deal with it and I can talk her through it because I've been through it, and, you know, we'll survive that way. So, I mean, she does make, you know, some difficult choices, but it's directly related to her own experience with not having parents growing up. So,
okay. So this next one, I might butcher these words, but so you use several different types of names to describe slaves, and you never outright called the characters in the book slaves, which I appreciated. You used words like Minners, Uji's, Nijims. Am I on the right track? Is there a difference between those titles?
Yeah, so Maynard is like, you know, it was just a word that I made up. I was actually in this Columbia University workshop in Paris, and we were studying the Negritude movement. And so we were reading some poetry, and one of the white men in the group, he just starts using the N-word because it's in the text. But you could tell it was like, he just felt like he had a free pass, you know? He was just like, you know, N-word, 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 all, like, it was very disturbing to me. So I actually went back to my dorm that same day and erased every use of the N-word that I had in my book and replaced it with this made up word, Maynard, which is just, you know, it's a racial slur, but I mean, you know, if somebody hurled it at you, like, there's no history to it, you know, it's not the same, it doesn't have the same weight. So that was what that word meant. OG is Igbo for Black, and I don't think they use it as like Black people. But it's just the word for the color. So I put that in there. So that was like, you know, just a way to identify Black people, whether you were free or not. It was just a positive way to identify, because the use of Black in the book or darkness or anything like that, like that, it doesn't have a negative connotation. So OG is just, you know, category. And then in gems, those were that means traveler in Igbo. And so those were the group of people that decided, who were in Moreau, and they decided not to go fight. They decided to go north beyond the wall, or beyond the Game of Thrones, beyond the falls.
Don't worry, it comes on tonight. Calm down, it comes on tonight.
I'm ready. So yeah, so that's so they're the travelers, and that's the group of people that, you know, will go like to Canada, beyond Niagara Falls. So
okay, yeah, because I tried to look up Minners and I was like, I don't know what
it's just a made up word. It's just made it up.
I know what it means, but okay. Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to go back to Game of Thrones because I feel like now we're getting to a point where somebody says something related to Game of Thrones, everybody instantly becomes friends.
And that's what just happened. I was like,
I'm like, do you want to go play karate in the garage?
Like,
did we just become best friends?
right?
I'm so ready for Cersei to die. I'm tired of Cersei's wig. I really am. Everybody is that wig tired?
It's the worst. It's the worst.
It's awful. But okay, so let's get back to the book. So I'm all about what's next. So what is next for you as a writer? Obviously, there's part 2 and there's part 3. So how do you? So you've made this. You've created this a thing, as me and Shakira like to call it. It's a thing. So when you make this is your baby. So you make this baby and you're like, okay, I gotta make 2 more. So where do you draw the questions together? What's next for you as a writer, and what do you look to for inspiration in part 2 and part 3, and even projects outside of the Book of Addis 3-part series?
So for the second and third books, I'm really looking at alliances. I'm inspired by real life, Black Lives Matter movement, groups within the movement for Black Lives, and how those with seemingly contradictory interests can join together to fight against a common evil that they're experiencing. And so that's going to be very big in the second book, because it can't just fall on Black people, like there are a lot of other people. We're normally the test dummies, you know what I mean? And Indigenous Americans as well. So, what happens to us, what happens to Black women, what happens to Black trans women, like that is just what happens to Indigenous women. That is just, the canary in the coal mine for what's about to happen to everybody else. So it could be any of these other people at any point in time. And so it's about trying to figure out how we can, move forward together, and to, kind of consolidate power in a way, or at least take power away from the people who are trying to cause them harm. So I'm looking at real life coalitions that exist in the movement for Black lives. I'm looking at Black Reconstruction by Du Bois for the third book as well. Like, how do you create this world? What is that going to look like? Because we had Reconstruction and everything was, it's seemingly great for a time. We had all these Black politicians and all of that, and then came in and it was just kind of a wrap for everything for, another 100 years. So how do you maintain peace? How do you maintain this world where, we are not, where there is no bottom, where nobody is at the bottom, where we're all just kind of working together and surviving together, and everyone has, what they need.
An equal playing field.
How
do you get to an equal play? That's actually interesting. You reading W.E.B. Du Bois. I just not too long ago learned about the controversy with the Freedmen's Bureau and how it was shut down during Reconstruction. That really blew my mind, how the Freedmen's Bureau was made to educate Black people and give them financial literacy, and then it was shut down so quickly. As quickly as it was brought into power, it was gone. To keep Black people financially literate during the Reconstruction era. And that kind of talking about where do you get this, where do you create this equal playing field? Just to go back to television, I know you've heard the chitter chatter about what Amazon is doing with Aaron Magruder, but this has been my question, most importantly, with, obviously we know this comes after the news of what HBO is doing, but has anyone, because this book is amazing, approached you about doing a TV adaptation to this book?
Not yet. I'm waiting on Oprah to call me. Ava, somebody, Will Packer, we can talk. Like, I'm waiting for that. Right now I'm just kind of focusing on creating this world of the books, because as we have seen with Game of Thrones, you know, when people, your showrunners are off book and off source material, things can go a little to the left. So I just want to make sure, you know, I have everything out there. I have, you know, so that it's, you know, the vision is clear, and you know, whatever it comes to life on film, which I wrote it with the intention for it to be cinematic. You know, so many people have talked about how they could see it, you know, in their heads as they were reading. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't wait for it to come to life beyond our collective imagination. So.
Yeah, you did a really good job of what is the word? Come on, words. Of it like being really descriptive. Like I could see it on film. I could see this being a TV show. Like this is really good.
The book is visual.
It's really visual.
It's visual art with words. But no, seriously, I'm giving my brother your book, who's also a writer, a producer, and a director.
Oh, great! Thank you.
Yeah, and he's at BET, so I'm gonna try to get you the juice. Like if I can get you the juice, because we need this on. I don't care what channel it's on. I need it on television.
Thank you.
As long as it's there, because he asked me, you know, how the book club was going, and I'm like, Pat, there's this book, and it's kind of special. It's got that it thing. But yeah, because the last 2 episodes of Game of Thrones visually have been stunning, but a lot of plot. I mean,
holes.
Amazing. Lots of holes.
Lots of potholes. Well, I mean, if you read the books, everybody says if you read the books, you would have really put the series down like season 2.5. They say they go off book after, I want to say, very well halfway into season 2. Personal. It hasn't like. I think the beautiful thing that you love about Game of Thrones, and I know we're talking about Thrones and not the book.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about Thrones is the personal stories. Like the one thing I've heard from people who've read the books is the book is told from, each chapter is told from a person's perspective, and it's not an actual chapter. So one chapter is just Tyrion, or one chapter is just Sansa, or one chapter is just Jon, or one chapter is just Daenerys, and it's all being told from their perspective. And they got away from that this season. I think they just wanted to rush everything because they're like, look, we're trying to wrap this up.
It feels like it. It feels like they're wrapping it up.
And it does. I'm ready for these hour and 30-minute episodes next year, because then they don't have to they can actually take their time. Because that's what it felt like. It felt like, hey, we asked HBO for 30 minutes, and they were like, nah, you still get your hour. Make it work.
Yeah. Well, also the thing that I liked about Book of Addis is that it was from each character's perspective. See how I segue there? I like that. I really did appreciate that the different characters that I didn't anticipate kind of having a main role, or people that I was like, I want to hear more. I'd flip to the next chapter and be like, ooh, now I can know from their perspective. Like, there's just a lot to like about this book. I can't say that enough.
Thank you. Yeah, so I really wanted to, be able to tell a complete story, but also be able to set up for the other books. So each of the books is going to be able to stand on their own as their own work. But I mean, if in book 1, more about Goliwe, who isn't maybe that major of a character in the first book, but, she plays a different role in the second book. It's not like a shock, like, who is this person, So I definitely wanted to be able, for the times when, Addis isn't in the room, or or something is happening that is going to impact Addis, but she doesn't know about it. I didn't want it to just be from her, because there are a lot of she's the central figure, but there are a lot of people, just like in all movements, there are a lot of people who are on the ground doing the work, whose stories deserve to be told as well. And there were just so many real life people that I was inspired by. I just wanted to make sure that, their stories were also, wrapped up in this story.
Okay. So what's your favorite book?
My favorite book?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I have a lot of favorite books. I love The Color Purple.
We just became best friends. Oh, okay. Yes.
I love The Autobiography of My Mother by Jamaica Kincaid. Of The Song of Solomon. I think that's Toni Morrison's best book. There's so many.
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah.
It's a great book. It really is.
And even in your intro, you thanked a lot of those people, or your acknowledgments. I think that was the first thing that I noticed. It was like, wow, you're acknowledging all of these wonderful people that I also appreciate. Like, why was that important to you?
Oh yeah, because you shouted
out. So I shouted out who?
Jamila.
Shout out to Jamila. Jamila actually got us our plug on our first interview with Michael Eric Dyson.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And so she always shoots me a DM like, yo, how's it going?
We love Jamila.
Jamila and Mini Mila are the greatest two individuals.
Everything. Yes.
They really are.
Well, I mean, so it was, I think Black women's labor has been consistently used and recycled as somebody else's work. And so it was just very, very important for me to cite my sources, and there have just been so many Black women who have been active, figures in my life who have, shaped my writing career, inspired me, whether they knew it or not, talked me through my story, helped me out in various ways. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think I would be a professional writer. Well, I guess we'll never know, but I do know that Jamila Lemieux helped me become a professional writer. Just from when we were both bloggers, and she would retweet my blog, like she's just been, and when she got on at Ebony, she brought me on as well. So yeah, I mean, it was very important for me to shout out all the people, who just helped me in some way in this journey. So yeah, and even so, Feminista Jones, I didn't actually talk to her personally about anything, but it was very important for me to cite to her as well, because she talked very often about, the trauma of, sexual violence for Black enslaved women, and how important it was to show Black women who were having agency in their sexual relationships. And so there's a whole, I went back and wrote a sex scene for Addis and Akweema because of, what she was saying about that. And that really, resonated with me. Well, there is nothing in here that shows, Addis having, a consensual, sexual relationship that's not just, loving, emotionally, but also physically. So yeah, I shout out everybody.
Okay. So yeah, I think that might be everything that I had. Jason, did you have any other questions for Brooke?
Team Issa or Team Lawrence? That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
What?
Team Issa or Team Lawrence? That's all that matters.
Oh gosh. I'm Team Issa's back rent, but that's about it.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I don't know who said that on Twitter, but that was the team I decided to join once I saw that.
Okay. I'm Team Chad, personally.
I love Chad.
Chad lives his life the way that he should, and he's really trying to help Lawrence, but he's just not listening. But he also realized that he's a John Legend. Chad said it. He's a John Legend Negro. I'm not gonna say the N word because Brooke didn't say it, and we didn't establish that it was a safe space for the N word to be used. Okay. We usually talk about that before it starts. So I'm gonna keep it cool. Okay. I'm gonna keep it cute. So, Game of Thrones theories. What goes down tonight?
I hope Cersei dies.
Your opinion. Keep
it. Okay. I hope they kill her. I mean, this whole thing, I don't know. It's bothering me so much because why would all of you come to your enemy's like home base altogether. I mean, like she should just blow the whole place up, create a new SEPTA Baylor, and put that wildfire under there and just get rid of everybody because they would deserve it for being that stupid for showing up. So, but I would like for Cersei to die.
I definitely think that Jaime's gonna kill Cersei. Definitely think I'm almost certain Littlefinger's out of there. Littlefinger's gone.
I hope so.
If he's not going tonight, me and the writers gotta have a talk. We gotta have a talk because it's been too long. I hate Bran.
Everybody hates Bran.
But I'm
saying like kill Bran and you reset the Matrix. I promise. Like just kill him.
Is Bran Jaden Smith? Because I think
yes, I can't tell the difference between the two. They're the same person.
Like I remember the episode. Like I get what he's doing, but at the same time, it bothers me because he could just be like, "Yo," but I get why he doesn't want to say anything because he kind of just wants to let things happen as they may. But I remember he said, "I need to talk to Jon." It's
another whole.
He's going to tell him he's a Targaryen, I guess, and then that'll stop him from, sleeping with his aunt, which will be good.
I think he's going to do it anyway, because Jon deserves. Oh God, he does. He's the rightful heir to the throne. He's the rightful heir to the throne. Let's just keep it cheap. I saw the wild. Well, because his father was a prince. He was born before Daenerys. I don't think he wants the throne. Right. He's the actual king. He's the actual king, and it's actually not Daenerys. But that's by bloodline. That's how the RJ. That's how.
But it also wouldn't be wrong if they slept together because that would be a Targaryen thing.
Yes, because it is a Targaryen.
So it would keep the blood pure, technically.
I think so. Either Jon's gonna ride a dragon tonight. Jon's gonna ride a dragon tonight, or something's gonna happen. But the wildest theory I saw was they're gonna fight the Night King. He's gonna. I want to say, what was it? They take down
the dragon. He's gonna fight the Night King on ground. He's gonna tell Daenerys to set him on fire, and he's gonna come alive. He's gonna survive the fire, and that's how they're gonna figure out.
Because he's a Targaryen, so he can't be burned. Right. And the Night King dies, and then he walks out the fire naked, just like she did with her 3 dragons, and everybody's happy. That's the theory. I don't know if it sounds too much like right. And the one thing we know about this show is they don't really.
Somebody's gonna die.
They really don't give a care about what sounds right. But hopefully they can be forgiven for the last 2 episodes, because the last 2 episodes have just been so rushed. I'm like, how did Gendry become Usain Bolt in 15 minutes? I just to know.
It's all bad.
And those ravens traveling at light speed.
Yeah,
they know. They're not on dial-up. They're definitely using fiber wire out there in Westeros.
They got 4G. Clearly.
No, they got LTE.
What? Because it's like Dragonstone and the Wall are like 1,000 miles away from each other.
And they hit Daenerys in the group chat like, LOL, what you doing?
Yeah. Like, hey, is you up?
Is you up? They coming. We're surrounded. I mean, that's basically what happened. I was just kind of like, so how did she know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot.
I guarantee she shows up with a dragon tonight. Nobody's gonna try anything if she shows up with a dragon, or even if she shows up with 5 Dothraki, I'd be afraid. Just 5. They just that's all you need.
She showed up. I think Jon went. I don't think she was there, but we don't know. But we don't know. 80-minute episode, so.
My life. I don't have no edges, and I want to grow some and give them to Daenerys.
Okay, so I think yes. So thank you, Brooke, for agreeing to interview with us. Thank you for suggesting your book. It's wonderful. What's next? What's coming next?
When's the next book coming out?
So the next one is Book of Addis, Burning Plains. because everything's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be, well, I'm working on 2018 for that.
Okay.
So yeah.
So
every 2 years we'll get these books out.
Okay. So Reading While Black, basically that means we're reading Book of Addis again in 2018.
Your coins ready. Get your coins. We got to get you a shirt. Let me know go to the website and let me know what size, Brooke. Just pick whatever shirt that I'll definitely shoot you a shirt. That's on me. Family discount. Promise.
Thank you so much.
That's not a problem.
See. What else? Next month we're reading The Engagement Game by Joy Marie McKenzie. It's not a how-to book, but it is our first memoir. It's talking about why I said why I said I don't to marriage and I do to me. So this should be nice. They're talking about dismantling the patriarchy and the myth of marital privilege and singleism. So I'm excited. I'm going to staple my wig down. And we're interviewing her next month, September 24th, which is the last Sunday of the month. So as we get more information, we will let you guys know. You can follow Brooke on Twitter at Brooke Obie, right?
That's correct.
And the same for Instagram. Yes?
Yep. All social media is all the same. And you can get Book of Addis at bookofaddis.com. Go on Amazon. Get it at your library, wherever.
Yes. Suggest your library. Get it. Is there anything else? Any other announcements for you, Brooke?
No, just happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
No
we
problem.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
No, we can't thank you enough. On my side, merch. We got sorry, Android users. I'm really sorry about that. We're gonna try to work something out for y'all. Everything from 6S to 7 Plus. No shade to the Android users. I got one too. Also, we'll be starting locally. We'll be starting our young adult book list in the month of September. We'll be reading The Hate You Give. So for my book readers, I'm gonna give y'all the hustle. You got the book and you got a kid. If you're mentoring someone, you got a little sister, you got a little brother, and you want to read this book, we'll also be discussing lightly this book. If you'd actually like to discuss it more in depth, I'm going to be working with the Facebook page. So hit us up, ask us how do you join the Facebook private group so we can actually discuss that book further. If the young adults that'll be reading the book have Facebook, we can add them. But we're going to be doing that locally in Mobile. This is going to be our first school that we're working with, so we're really excited. I've already talked to the book club advisor extensively this past 2 months, and we're just kind of getting started. School's in, so those kids are really excited. We'll be posting pictures on Instagram and of course on Twitter, so you guys can see how that goes. And then I'm going to tell them that I actually talked to somebody who has stood in the same room as Oprah. Because they'll take it serious then. I think everybody understands how important Oprah is.
Okay, so if we don't have anything else, we'll see y'all next month.
All right.
Bye.
No problem. Bye.